Welcome everyone, it's John Denton here with you again with another episode of the Community Resource Centre Business Planning Workshop on Westlink TV. And I'm joined today by Andrew Huffer. Welcome Andrew.
Thanks John, great to be here.
And Ros Worth from DRD.
Thank you, John.
Welcome Ros. Today we're going to be talking about products and services at your CRC and the market segment that you address with those products and services. And then we're going to be going on to do a bit of a situational analysis as well to help you get really clear on what your starting point is. So I'm going to now ask Andrew to do a quick recap on what we did in episode 2.
Bring it on. Thanks John. Before we get started, if you remember from last episode, you would have done a fair bit of work on completing your SMART objectives. So I'm hoping you've had some time to work with your colleagues on that and get your objectives into SMART formats, and remembering that they're no longer objectives that suck. Let's get that clear. As you go through the program, you'll be completing different sections of the workbook and transferring those into the business planning template. So it's really important that you keep up to date with each of those and keep on track to make sure that you're building continuously throughout the program. So today we're going to be, as John mentioned, understanding market needs, matching these to your own capabilities, and identifying the benefits for your clients of using your services. Let's talk about that in a bit more detail. So we talked about SMART objectives being specific, measurable, action focused, realistic and time constrained. And we went through some examples of those, and here's one right now, which is a SMART objective of increasing non-grant related income to 50% by 2015. And the SMART components of that were being specific, in that it was increasing non-grant related income. It was measurable in terms of you had a 50% target there. Action focused, you're looking to increase income. Realistic, because in this example the income level of non-grant related income was currently at 30%. And time constrained, we're looking for a 2015 deadline and preferably a date. And a lot of people use the end of the financial year as the date they're going for there. And that's all captured in page 5 and 6 of your workbook. So John, if I can hand over to you now to help us get focused on community needs. Can you take us through an example for that, please?
Sure, thank you Andrew. Yep. We're going to be working through now page 7 of your workbook. You'll see a really good example there of how to match your service offering with your market segment needs. And this particular example uses a cafe as an example. So you think about a cafe, it's not just a cafe for everyone necessarily, but think of the type of people that come into the cafe. You've got tradespeople, you've got mums with prams, you've got business people, tourists, and the CRC is no different. You will cater for similar types of market segments. And in this example, you can see that for local businesses, shire and government agencies, then the product or service is having lunches all made up. These people are generally in a hurry, so it's understanding what that market segment's needs are and then how you're going to address them. So what's important to them, what sort of things are going through their mind when they come to you for a service. And then in the column next to that, you'll see that it talks about the capacity of the business or the CRC to address those needs. So another example in there is tourists. That's a nice looking shirt that guy's got. I like that, Andrew.
I could see you wearing it, John, pretty comfortably actually.
It's definitely got that Hawaii feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. So again, you know, what kind of things would a tourist be looking for in a CRC? I don't know, a lot of the CRCs do deal with tourists, you know, so it's what kind of services can you provide for them? How well set up are you to provide those services? And then getting some feedback and measurement on how well you're doing that as well. So Andrew, would you like to add to that, or you got any thoughts on that? You've got a cafe, so.
True enough. That's where the example come from. I guess, yeah, just reiterating what John said, it's really getting a clear focus on who are the people that are coming looking for you and what are their different needs, and how can you cater to their different needs, rather than sort of doing a broad brush approach and then hoping that those people are going to turn up. So from using the cafe example, it's been quite clear on what you can provide to these people and how it's going to be valuable to them.
Yeah, so it all starts with knowing who your market segments are, and that's part of the process we're going to be going through. Next is getting you to think about some of those. And Ross, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of market segments? And
I think particularly within the market segmentation, it's important to work and identify the different age groupings that exist and target it a little bit more finely towards those age groups as well. Recently I attended a business planning workshop at a CRC, and it was interesting because when they looked at the cold hard data of their community, they had a lower representation from the seniors, and yet a lot of their programs were geared towards the older age group. So once they realised the demographics of their community, they could change to provide greater support and activities for the younger families. So it's interesting, it's really important that a CRC sort of steps back and does a review, because what they believe their community consists of may or may not really be that picture. That belief may be arrived at by just the customers that arrive at their CRC just through definition of their services that they provide. So it's really important to look beyond the doors of their CRC and look for new markets, and yeah, that interprets, I guess.
And don't make assumptions.
That's right. Yes.
So we tend to make assumptions based on what our own personal needs are, without necessarily talking to our customers, our market, and actually getting feedback from them. So Andrew, I think you're going to do a bit more work on the market segments.
Sure am. And in this case, if you just go back to thinking about the cafe example, for example, we find that tradespeople are usually in the morning in a hurry, or in at lunch in a hurry. They just want something to grab and go. So that's their need. Mums with prams, they got a bit of time to fill in. They want somewhere which is comfortable, they've got a bit of space and the chance to talk. People who are business people, in this case it could be your shires or local businesses, they're often looking for catered lunches that are healthy and will keep their clients happy. And the tourists, well, sometimes they're just looking for something a bit of a treat, and a bit of our my mother-in-law's home-style vanilla slice always is a treat in anyone's book, and certainly keeps me well endowed with plenty of extra kilos. Let's talk now about some of the market segments of your CRC. So if you could look to page 8 of your workbook and start thinking through that. And we've provided a few examples here on what some of the market segments could be and what the potential services they're going to be looking for from a CRC. So you can see there we've talked about local clubs looking for printing. Rod's already referred to seniors using CRCs. Some are looking for technology training. Youth often looking for participation in activities, something to get involved with. In another segment with Indigenous people and people who are culturally and linguistically diverse, maybe looking for ways to be engaged in the community or for community development services. And tourists who we just talked about are often looking for local information and access to new areas or access to resources. So that's some of the segments that you could be thinking about in your own CRC. Any other examples that you guys have come across in terms of some of the segments that CRCs have been able to target and how they've gone about it?
Yes, a lot of the CRCs have got access to sporting clubs, seniors clubs, associations, and all, and a good place to find out about these is at the local shire, of course. They have a lot of information about what's going on in the community. Another way to find out some of the market segments is to look for statistics from the Australian Bureau of Statistics.
Yep.
And census surveys. They are a great source of information. I know some of the CRCs have used census information, and it really does give you the full picture of the community, and it stops you forming those assumptions based on what you see every day. So
Yep.
yeah,
And Ros, you mentioned back in episode 1 that some of the CRCs, got out in the street and went and asked people what they're looking for.
This is true, and this is a very successful method of really gauging what your community requires and what you may be able to look at implementing. And I guess it's just about being brave and bold and finding new ground. And I guess any CRC that steps out looking for new and invigorating ideas way that they can service their community is a benefit for all. They inherently become the heartbeat of their community always.
And one thing I saw recently was that a lot of the northwest CRCs like Broome, Fitzroy Crossing, Bidjadanga, all those guys, they got up to the Northwest Expo. They had a booth there, so it was a great way for them to find out what their local communities are needing from them. And they had about, I think, 7,500 people go through the expo in 2 days. So it was a great opportunity for them to really meet those people, talk to them about what the CRCs do, and be able to understand what people are wanting from them. And some of the questions I'm sure they would have been asking them is thinking about who their target market is, what do they need from us, and how well can we meet this need as a CRC? Do we have the capacity, the resources and the people to do it?
Yeah, it's about definitely getting out and surveying your market, and don't be afraid to put out questionnaires and stand in the street and ask people, but have a questionnaire, have something on the reception desk at the CRC to ask people for feedback, ask people for what additional services and things they would like to see.
And I think
ask your customers. It's a bit novel, I know.
And be proactive in seeking invitation to talk at other events or the local Shire event, or perhaps if there's another training agency that heads into town. So it's just about looking for those opportunities and a bit of self-promotion perhaps. If there's not an existing opportunity, just create one and have a meet and greet at the CRC.
All of the CRCs have a website, of course, and most of them now I think have Facebook pages as well. And that's a great way to engage with the community, particularly the younger generation, although I think Facebook is, now the demographic is much older, the biggest demographic on there, but that's a great way as well to let the community know what you're doing and to make it very social. I know some of the CRCs that I dealt with are using that very well to give the community feedback on what's happening. So,
And I know Nanup, they have a computer screen, a touch screen with their CRC, so out of hours that still provides a service for anybody, tourists or local residents there as well. So no, it's a wonderful tool for, I guess, 24-hour service.
Yeah, so social media, e-newsletters, hard copy newsletters, anything that promotes the CRC, or even some little promotional gifts and things like that. I saw some very interesting ones when I was out there, but it all helps to keep it in people's front of mind.
Yep.
So, excellent.
Let's take that a bit further now in terms of highlighting what kinds of services you do provide. And I'll get back ranting again about this in terms of a trap you should try and avoid is just describing your service without actually talking about the benefits it provides. And frankly, if you just talk about the service you provide, people are just going to be pretty much ho-hum, big deal. So a lot of the time you've got to remember the acronym WIIFM, the WIFM, what's in it for me. So I think there's a real opportunity for all CRCs to think about what's in it for me for the people they're targeting, and to bring that into the service offering you're providing. So if you're describing your services, it's well worth describing the benefit to the person who's using it. So let's have a few examples here. In here, the grabbing people, the WIFM is our video conference facilities will save you hours in travel time. So the big what's in it for me is a saving of travel time in dollars, but also enabling people using the video conferencing facilities to stay in touch with their teams. And my guess, Ros, is that a lot of people using video conferencing facilities are state government staff or agencies or perhaps local government. So my guess is
medical agencies and the prisons as well.
Yeah. So a lot of these guys haven't got the time or the budget to be travelling all over the state for meetings. So to me, a video conferencing one is a great opportunity. Just probably, I think instead of saying we've got a video conferencing facility, here's what it's going to do for you is a good way to offer it. I think I've got another example here. is about CRC computer facilities. And again, I've looked at a lot of CRC websites and they do describe the facilities well, but I think they have the opportunities there to describe what it actually does to help people. And it's saving them money and buying their own computer, but it's also making sure that the facilities they're going to be using are always going to be cutting edge and fast speeds. And I know, John, you're a big fan of fast speed internet.
Absolutely.
Big fan of having mobile reception everywhere you go. So something like this would appeal to you, is my guess.
Yes, for sure. And I think communities are demanding that now. We know the government with their NBN rollout are definitely focused on getting that high-speed internet out to the more remote areas.
Yep.
So, very important.
So I guess the key message I'm really trying to hammer home here is, if you're providing a service, that's great. Make sure we really highlight what the benefit is to the person you're targeting, so they can grab it and say, yep, that's for me, I'm going into that CRC. Okay, I'm off my rant now. I'll hand over to John to talk a bit more about measuring of outcomes from here.
Sure, thank you, Andrew. The other important thing, once you've identified who your market is and your market segments, and you've identified the products and services, and you may need to create some new ones. I mean, it's an opportunity to be creative as well. So you're targeting your products and services at the right part of the market. The important thing then is to measure the effect of what you're doing and the results that your target market are getting. So, you know, again, in business and organisations, we can make assumptions about these things and think we're providing a really good service and things that people need, and it turns out that it's not the case at all. So once you've identified the product or service and the market, then put some measures in place to measure and track your success. And again, we've talked about this quite a lot with the SMART goals, Andrew,
Yep.
and it just follows on from that. You've really got to be able to demonstrate to your stakeholders and to the market that you're servicing that you're actually getting the results for them. So there is room in the workbook for that, to identify the product and service, the benefit, and how you're going to measure it. And I'm a big one on measurements in business. People get sick of hearing me say, so how are you going to measure that? But it's just the thing it's just the thing you've got to do. It's one of my hobby horses. You have your little rants. Mine is, how are you going to measure that?
And I think it's an indirect feel good for the CRC and their staff and the management committee and the volunteers, because it just indicates how they're real and meaningful to their community, and it just ensures that they're always relevant to the day.
Yeah, that's right. And here's an example of a measurable outcome. The computer facilities at the CRC, you can look at things that you can measure. So with any business or organisation, you should always have a list of things that you can measure. Key performance indicators, we call it in the business world. What are the key things you need to measure to show how you're performing? And here's an example. So if you're providing computer facilities to your community, what percentage of the target market is actually using those facilities? And of course the question is, how are you going to measure that? But come up with a measure. What income is it generating from providing those services as well? So in the overall scheme of things, is it a big part of what your income is, or is it a small thing? Again, you can make better business decisions there. Clients that have used the services or other services become members. What are the satisfaction levels? Again, put out customer feedback forms and always find out what people feel about your service and what they're getting out of it. And when you get good results, develop some case studies. I mean, this is a great one. I've seen some CRCs do this really well. When people are getting great benefits from the CRC, then write it up, ask their permission, of course, to talk about it, and write it up as a case study, because then it becomes part of your marketing and CRC promotional material. So it's very important to keep measuring.
Yeah, and just on that case study bit, it's not that hard, to be honest. You can easily just do a little video interview with one of the clients and then have that transcribed. So you've got the video, you've got it transcribed onto a documented version. Easy done. You can just do it with a little smartphone thing, I think they're called.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And all you need is a decent phone, and decent sound, so a quiet area, and bang, 3 minutes, you've got your case study sorted out. Beautiful.
And of course, those videos you can put onto Facebook as
Yep.
well, so it becomes part of your Facebook business page. And that really just tells people what you're doing and the fact that you're engaging with the community and getting results for them.
Gets back to that old adage, you know, picture says it's 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, so again, can't reiterate that enough. Get the feedback, develop the case studies, use your social media and all the other tools you've got to promote the CRC and what you're doing. So I think that just about wraps up
Yeah.
episode 3, unless Roz or Andrew, you've got anything else to add?
I think you've covered it in your usual golden way, John. It's been fantastic.
Such a smooth talker, Andrew. You can come again. So let's just recap on what we've done today. We've recapped the SMART objectives and the importance of having those. We've asked you to identify your market segments without basing it on assumptions, but go out and get the real information and what their needs are. What is it they're looking for? What do they need? What are the areas that you can cover? Then how do you communicate those offerings? And we've talked about the social media and the case studies and different ways to get the message out there, and measuring what you're doing and measuring the return on investment for your stakeholders. I think today's session's been a very critical session. They're all critical, I know, but you know, you've got to get your market right, you've got to get your message right, and then you've got to get your service right. And if you do that, then you'll be very successful. In the next episode, we're going to be doing a situational analysis and digging a bit deeper into the CRC and what the current situation is. Because again, it's great to have big, hairy, audacious goals and know where you're going, but you've got to know where you're starting from.
Yep.
And what the situation is that you're in, and what the factors are that are pressing on the CRC to perform and do different things. So getting that situational analysis is really clear is mandatory, and that's the next step in the business planning process. So with that, this is where we are in the process. So we've just covered products and services, and in episode 4 we'll be doing situational analysis. So that's enough from me. You've heard enough from me today. So
Come on.
oh, you want more, Andrew?
Oh, we could do another episode now. Just about you.
Okay. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And me too.
And if you're looking for more information, you can go to the CRC portal at https://extranet.crc.net.au, or you can grab your CRC Network News. So beautifully modelled by Roz. See you next time.